Hello, it's Mrs. Smith here again for our 10th and final session for RE Community Learning. If you haven't completed sessions 1 to 9, then please go ahead and complete them first before doing this session. Now, we've been on such a journey with all our amazing learning about communities and how different religions and worldviews respond to community in different ways, and how people's belief system helps them feel that they belong in certain ways, and it gives them different thoughts and actions that they then put into action in a community setting. We've been on such a journey, and so today we are going to be pulling all of that knowledge, all of that information all together in our learning today, so that we can be thinking about how we might build our own communities and how we might build communities that live in harmony and at peace with one another. So what I want you to do is I want you to think back to our last session, session 9, when we were thinking about the town of your town, and they had a very interesting thing that they all pulled together to do. There was that famine in Africa, which we considered, and we thought about how the different faiths who were represented in your town responded to that situation. Have a look at your helping hand from your last couple of sessions, in particular from session 9. I put on mine about creating religious harmony. So all religions and all faiths being able to use the learning from their faith to actually help one another and help others, and show that compassion towards something that needs to be done. And I've also written the word common goal there. I think all the faiths represented in your town really helped together to then help distribute that food for those, for the children who were starving in Africa and the families that were out there. So I wonder what you've written on your helping hand to help you remind yourself of our learning. I wonder whether it was that, or whether there was something else that stood out to you in your town that you wanted to really make sure you held on to remember about our community's lesson. Now, we're going to be thinking, as I said, about building our own communities today. So let's have a look at what we will need for today's session. I'm just going to share with you the screen. So here's what we're doing. And I would like you to make sure that you have the following things ready for our session today. So you'll need 3 pieces of paper, plain or lined, it doesn't matter. At least 1 pen or pencil, and colours definitely help you with some of the drawing that you're going to be doing today, and hold on to your helping hand. Now, as a side note, if you want to, make sure you've got all of your communities learning in front of you, all the sheets from the other sessions, particularly things like your community circle, maybe your worldview target board that we worked on. Then make sure you get those with you as well, because they'll be really useful to help you with today's tasks. So pause the video here and go and get those items now. Fantastic. Right, to start us off and to warm us up, I want you to imagine that you are now becoming a filmmaker. I'm going to share with you the picture of your town again. Here we are, and again, a big thank you to RE Today, who've provided that resource for us. Here is that picture of your town, and you can see some of the relief and the aid effort going ahead for the famine in Africa. What I'd like you to do is I want you to consider the 4 different groups that have been represented. We've got the Hindus who worship at the mandir. We've got the Muslims who worship at the mosque down on the bottom right there. We've also got the church where Christians might worship, and we've also got the Jews who would be attending the synagogue as a place to go and worship. Now, I want you to stare really hard at this picture. Take it all in. You can even pause the video for a second if that will help you. But I want you to really look in to the picture of your town. I want you to look at the aid effort that's going on with the famine relief truck that's there, and some of the other people being interviewed, and the newspaper, the boy with the newspaper talking about the great efforts that the school children and the different faiths have done. So really stare hard at all that aid effort going on. Now, I want you to close your eyes and imagine that your town is coming to life, as if it was a paused film set, and you as the filmmaker has suddenly cried out, action. And I want you to imagine what is happening next in one of those places of worship, one of those religious buildings. I want you to pause the film here on one of those, inside one of those buildings now. And I want you to get one of your pieces of paper, and I want you to draw what you saw in your imagination. And as you draw that, I want you to think of some words that describe what's going on in that scene. So pause the video here, have a go at drawing what is happening in one of those places of worship. And I want you to really consider what people might be doing, what people might be saying, and then draw or write around the outside some words to describe what's going on. So pause the video here to do that task. Great efforts, everyone. Now, I wonder, what would the scene look like if the camera suddenly panned to the people in Africa, receiving their aid, receiving the food and the support? What a lovely sight that would be. Giving to those in need. It's such a great way to show kindness and compassion to others. Something which has cropped up in each of the different faiths and worldviews that we've looked at, those values of kindness and compassion. These are values that you might already have and recorded on your helping hands. So hopefully you've got that image of the action taking place in your town. But what we're going to do now is we're going to look back over our 9 sessions that we've already had. I want you to think about all the different things that we have achieved. And a good place to start is get your helping hands ready. And if you want to, see if you can get your community circle in front of you. You might also want to get in front of you your page that you wrote about commitment when we looked at Sikhism. And you might also want to get out your target board with your different worldviews and therefore the behaviours on the outside, how you have responded because you have that strong value and belief inside of you. So have all those bits of paper out in front of you, particularly those helping hands. They're really, really useful because they're the key things that you want to remember. I just want us to remind ourselves of some of the things that that have helped these different faiths and those with different worldviews relate to one another. Values that they hold dear that then help them live in community with others. So let's have a look on the screen. I've got some key learning from the different religions and worldviews we've looked at here. Hopefully these won't be a surprise to you. Hopefully they will be things that you can remember from our sessions. Symbols. We talked a lot about that near the start. They've got a lot of meaning. It shows that you belong. Now, when we journeyed through looking at Sikhism, first of all, we looked about commitment. We explored Devinder's story, how she got a brand new surname, and actually those men that stepped forward to show commitment for the Sikh path and went into the temple of the Guru and actually ended up saying that they would give their lives up to show their commitment to the Sikh path, and how joining the Khalsa as part of that commitment shows Sikhs that they are committed to their faith and that they do these 5 things, those 5 promises that they make to ensure that they are part of the Khalsa. I've put that on the screen: to wear the 5 Ks, to follow the teaching of the 10 Gurus and the Guru Granth Sahib, to accept the responsibility for service, to abstain from alcohol, tobacco, and respecting women, and to work hard and to give to charity. And that comes out in their belief that everyone is treated equally. They believe that God treats everyone equally, so therefore they should be promoting equality and treating everyone with respect and that same level of equalness and fairness in the acts that they do. You've got the seva, the selfless service for others. That happens a lot, particularly in the Gurdwara, where they have the langar and they feed people as part of their service to others. And again, sitting on the floor whilst they eat, showing everyone is equal. So I think a commitment and equality and selfless service, there's some key things there that we can remember from the Sikh faith to help us with our community learning today. Hinduism, when we thought about the Hindu faith, we looked at daily duties, including looking after other people, caring for people and animals, worshipping at the shrine or the mandir. Really, really quite active things, but they were done on a daily basis, getting into that rhythm. And they have that belief that actions have consequences. So you've got that karma relating to that dharma, that everyone is responsible for doing good. So maybe those are some of the things that you want to pull into your community learning today. Really useful to know, particularly about the actions having consequences. And we looked at Christianity, we looked at the Christian faith. We talked about that word unity and how the word community has the word unity in it, meaning to work together as a team. Christians follow what's known as the 10 Commandments, and one of those commandments being love your neighbour as yourself, being so important. So that idea of loving one another was really important in the Christian faith. And then it was brought up again, and I've written them on the screen here, a little screenshot to show you, that actually the Beatitudes really explore and unpack being gentle and kind, loving other people, being fair and just, meaning doing what is right. Forgiving people was a big part of the Beatitudes, and being peacemakers, being able to bring that peace between communities. And that was a lot of learning from the sacred texts of the Bible there that Christians follow. And we reflected on some wise advice, didn't we, early on in our sessions, where we looked at the Quran and the Hadith, and we also looked at the Bible and how they brought together some really important messages, all coming out in some of those things that are really useful for our community learning today. And finally, we looked at humanism as a worldview, not necessarily having faith in a God or a belief in a God, but also that idea of we want to think about others. It's not a selfish thing. We want to think about others so that we can be generous and respect everyone, so that everyone can have a happy life. And maybe that is something that's really important that we can pull out of our community learning. Now, all of which, hopefully, some of these will be written and displayed on your hands, and hopefully the summary of the things that I've put on the screen have really helped you to really recap and think about all the journey that we have been on. Now, I wonder if you can get hold of your piece of paper where you wrote about the different community groups that were represented in your area, in your town or village. I want you to have a look at those lists of communities, because we're going to be thinking about creating our own communities now, and I think that will be a really good starting point for you to do. So I want you to imagine now that you live in your own version of your town. What different groups and communities would you like to see in your town? I've had a go at creating my own version of your town, and I've called it Unity Town, because I believe that that's one of the strongest values that I've got out of my community learning. You can see how I've mocked it up similar to how your town looks, but this time I've got community transport in the background there instead of the aid effort. And I've considered, actually, I really want a Gurdwara in my town, because I really love the way that they have that server, the way that they have the selfless service, and having the langar open so that they can feed people. One activity that I absolutely love doing is park run, and going for a park run on a Saturday morning. You might do that as well. And I've got a lovely little sign up there for park run. I've got the boy with the newspaper. This time he's saying hundreds fed by local food bank, actually that being such a priority in the town. So those are some of the groups and aspects that I've put into my version of my own town. Now, if you're into football, you want to make sure that you've got a football pitch and maybe a playground area in your town. I don't want you to necessarily draw the picture. Maybe just jot down a list of all the things, all the places, all the different groups that would be represented in a version of your own town if you were to create your own town. And if you want to, come up with a nice name like I have done. I've called mine Unity Town, but I want you to think carefully about what you want to call your town. So just a reminder of what I'd like you to do. I want you to come up with a list of all the different community groups, religious, non-religious, that you want to see and be represented in your very own brand new town. Pause the video here to write your list. Great, fantastic. I hope you've got a nice list, and if you've done some drawings alongside it, then brilliant, well done. Now I wonder, let's think about now how you would ensure that all your community groups that are represented are being supportive to one another, are being inclusive to one another, are showing people that they can belong. How are you going to ensure that they're going to be peaceful towards each other and work in unity? Have a think. Just pause the video now to think how that might work. So now we're going to have a think about how we can build some of those respectful attitudes in your new town, in your new community that you've just created. Now I've got a few prompts on the screen here. Now I want you to think about the religions represented in your town, and you might also have them in your own version of the town that you are creating with your list. I want you to have a think. Can you imagine the Hindus visiting the church and the Christians then going to visit the mandir? How would they feel? Might they be anxious, or will they feel at home? Will they be curious, comfortable, out of their depths? I wonder why they might be that. Would they recognize some of the things if they were to go into those religious buildings, those places of worship? Now, for these two groups of people, they have a faith, they have a certain worldview, but I wonder how it would feel visiting each other's place of worship. Pause the video here and consider how you might ensure that a level of respect and harmony is built in your new town or your new community that you're creating. Brilliant. I'm sure you've had a chance to really think about how that might have an impact on how the different groups work with each other or feel that they belong in the same town but yet worship in a different way. We're now going to have a go at creating a charter. Now, a charter is basically a fancy word for an agreement. And we're going to have a go at writing a community charter. So this is what we're going to be kind of creating an agreement that all the groups represented in your brand new town that you've created are going to sign up for and say, yeah, we're going to agree to that. I'm going to agree to those kind of list of rules or list of ways of living that will really help promote peace, unity and harmony in your brand new town. So on your piece of paper, I want you to come up with 4 ideas for harmony in your new created communities, written as positive rules. So you might have done something similar to this in your classrooms back at school. You might have written a class charter, basically a list of rules that everyone in your class signs to agree to follow. It very much follows our rights respecting agenda if your school signs up for that kind of thing. And one way of making sure it's a positive thing is not writing a list of rules that say, don't do this and don't do that. Actually, what we want to promote is that positivity. So come up with some rules that will really show just respect to one another. I've written some prompts on the screen there. What actions are you expecting people to take? How could you show peace in the set of rules or the agreement that you create? How will you show unity? How will you expect people to show respect? What symbols are you wanting people to maybe be aware of? And the bigger question there I put at the bottom is, what is needed for a more respectful town? So you've got your list of the different community groups that will be meeting in your new town and working in your new town. Now choose another piece of paper and have a go at writing your community charter, your agreement that you want everyone to follow. Pause the video here to get your community charter written. Fantastic. I'm sure your charters are brilliant and really, really show and promote positivity in your brand new town. Just going to stop our share there at the moment just so you can see me. I hope that you've managed to include some of those lovely things that we've been learning over our time together. So some of the prompts and the values that you've taken on your helping hands, hopefully they have helped you to really establish what the positive rules are going to be to promote unity and peace and harmony within your new town. It's probably got you thinking, actually, what do you want to gain out of it? And what do you want the people living in your town and being part of those groups want to get out of doing and living in your town? Something to really be consider about. Now we've got one final opportunity to put our community learning to great use. As I mentioned in the last session, we talked about being a good leader. What does that actually look like with regards to a community group? Now I'm going to hand over the reins to you. I'm going to give you the chance to become the leader of your brand new town or community that you are creating. You have now been elected mayor. And if you can remember, a mayor is someone who helps makes decisions by listening to the people's views and then will promote the town and will promote the good community living by talking to the people. And one thing that they often do is give speeches or go to ceremonies where they give a talk about the importance of that certain community group or that certain action that's taking place in the town. So that's going to become your job now as the new mayor of the town that you have created. So I want you to think about what you might do now that you are in charge. So let me just share the screen with you. Here we go. Next slide. So it's your turn to be that great leader. So you're elected mayor. I want you to think about what you would do in your new community or town, or your town if you would still need something to think about if you were in charge. I want you to try and promote good, sorry, can't see the screen. I want you to promote good relationships between the different community groups represented. That peace, unity and harmony that we tried to pack into our community charter that we've just written. And here's your task. You are going to write a speech to motivate and inspire all the groups in your community to promote harmony, unity and respect. What key values do you want your town to be known for? What things do you want people to do to promote harmony? What do you want them to do to really believe and strongly support unity? Now, I've written a thing in the black box there. Use your community charter to help you write your speech. You're there going to be inspiring all the people in your new town about what makes the town the best for community and the best for promoting unity and respect and harmony. If you need some help, go and have a look at some amazing inspirational speeches by the likes of Winston Churchill or Martin Luther King Jr. You might have already explored them in your learning at school. But there's a way of certainly writing that speech. Make sure you introduce who you are and why it's so important that you are there and what you are wanting to promote in your new town. You need to give it really clear ideas as to what you want to see the people doing and how they're going to get there. So pause the video here to go ahead and write a brilliant, inspiring speech. Amazing. Do you know what, if you had the chance to write your speech, I would love to have actually seen them all or read all your notes that you use for your speech. And if you get a chance, do take your speeches into school and share with your class teachers about what you have done in our community learning, and actually share with them the speech of your brand new town to promote community where you want it to go. Now, we have come to the end of our RE community learning, and it has been absolutely lovely spending time with you. I hope you have enjoyed finding out a bit more about where you belong, how different communities work, both religious and non-religious, and hopefully now you have some tools in your toolkit to help you live in harmony in the communities that you belong to. Keep hold of all the learning that you have done throughout all of our project, and you've achieved so much, and I definitely want you to see if you can pop it all together and maybe call it My Specials Community Learning Project. Now, thank you so much for spending time with me. It's been absolutely brilliant. I wish you well in all the things that you do. Bye.